There's a lot of places to go with a guy like you. What stuck out to me where I want to start this conversation is I think there's this narrative in the health and fitness industry that you have to struggle really, really hard for money, for time. Exchanging time for money is the currency. And that's what you got to do before you can make money in this industry. Then I saw your hybrid method you talked on your IG story. And then I thought, interesting. I can see the similarities between you and Ben, and then what I'm learning from Bren and through you accidentally as well. So I'm like, shit, okay, we're onto something. So I guess what I want to start with is we're sold this idea that we got to exchange time for money in all service-based industries. Can you explain why that is an inherently flawed system, if you believe it is, and instead what you would put in place?
Yeah, man, like I think everyone coming into the fitness industry, so it's like people coming out of the certificates, doing their Cert 3, Cert 4, they get told, trade time for money. That's what a personal trainer does. And I think that is completely fine at the start, but I went down the whole fitness first route for the first 8 or 9 years of my journey in the fitness industry, and it was fantastic for me. But I had a sporting background. I love health and fitness, and everything that I did was health and fitness. Now, a lot of people inside that arena get left by the wayside and they don't make the money that they want to make. So I would say there's a 50-50 chance. If you feel like you need to be nurtured more with your skill set, then join a organization and get a job and learn that skill set. Like essentially, like Malcolm Gladwell talks about that 10,000 hour rule. And I think it's, as a personal trainer, it's not 10,000 hours coaching someone, it's 10,000 hours in the gym. And like actually, understanding your craft, understanding what you're doing, understanding squats, deadlifts, understanding and pinpointing, the flaws and how to correct them. I think, if you're new to the game and you're coming out your Cert 3 and 4, then, join an organization who preaches continuing education. But I think if you have a good understanding and you have been in the game for a bit of the time, then if you're trading time for money, it does definitely put a cap on your income. It definitely puts you essentially, working long hours, many split shifts, and it can lead to burnout. So, for us in the fitness game, you want to be here for a long time, not a short time. So then it's creating a business model that gives you sustainability, and also gives you a bit make sure that it is supporting your future, not just the current time. I think that's when the hybrid method sort of comes, beautifully into play. Hybrid method is, I personally believe people can pay you a membership, and so many trainers undervalue everything else that goes into what they provide for a client. So they'll do the training sessions, for example, when I'm a personal trainer, but they'll throw in nutrition for free. They'll do the programming in their own time. They'll do all the check-ins in their own time. Now, that's outside of when they're paying you. So if it takes you 1 or 2 hours outside of the session to do the session, you're not making $70 an hour anymore. You're making $22 an hour.
Yeah.
So it's like, the money you think you're making per hour is not what you're actually making. So when I'm looking at the hybrid method, it's like, no, you need to package your service. You need to sell an outcome or sell an offer. And I think that's another thing that most personal trainers essentially create a bit of a flaw with, or there's a flaw in their service, because they're selling, hey, let's do 2 sessions a week for an indefinite period of time. And then what you're doing is you're selling friendship, or you're selling time with you. You're not selling a result. So again, with the hybrid method, if you can create an offer with an outcome, you're selling the island. So we're selling 4-month membership with me, and that includes 4 PT sessions, includes your monthly programming, includes bi-weekly check-ins, includes your nutrition protocols to make sure we're getting you the result. And in 16 weeks, we should get X outcome. If you want to do more sessions, and that for that outcome is $200 a month, and it's $800 to get us that outcome. If you're a new personal trainer, as you get more qualified, you get better results. You can go $300 a month, $400 a month to the membership with you, and you want to value pack that membership. And they want the outcome, so they're happy to pay the price. But with on top of that, you can go, yes, and I only sell personal training packages or personal training services to the people who are in my membership. So say you have 40 people or 50 people in your hybrid method. They have to do the hybrid method or the monthly membership with you to even buy more personal training sessions, because that is the baseline package you sell. So if they want to do one a week, it's like, great, you have to pay the baseline membership, which is 200 a month or 300 a month. And on top of that, you can pay your weekly PT sessions if people need more sessions, if they're brand new for them to training, just to get them started understanding movement patterns and all the rest of it. But with that, as I was talking about on my Instagram, it's if you get to 80 clients and it's just 20 sessions a week with that hybrid method, with that, you're looking at bringing in about $200,000 a year as a personal trainer,
Right.
and you're only doing 20 hours a week. And on top of that, you do have to do the 10 hours a week of admin. So you're working the 30 hours a week, but you get to change more lives, which is, 80 people over the course of the month. And as you get more educated, you can change it to 300 a month and 400 a month. And that's when we go from 200K to 300K to 400K as a personal trainer, and never increasing the hourly or the hours you're actually spending with people above that 20 hours a week.
And that formula is so simple. It's really just math and good systems. Yet
Exactly.
so many people don't know it. It took me 4 or 5 years to realize it, and then it's a light bulb and it's like, what am I doing? Like this, there is such more of an efficient way. I don't have to run uphill. I can run downhill. But you said something I wanted to ask. So your kind of system is, you don't let people see you privately one-on-ones at all unless they do your membership first. Is that right?
Well, exactly right. Like you have to do the membership first to actually get further personal training. Because if I can see you twice a week and I'm not giving you a program outside that training, I'm not helping with your nutrition,
Yeah.
then I'm going to be out of integrity with what I'm doing with you. So, the personal training sessions are just more time with me to critique your movements, to push you harder, to train you more. So like for that, you got to pay your baseline, and then everything on top of that, it's like, okay, cool. You want your baseline? You want an extra 8 sessions a month? Cool. We'll tack on those 8 sessions a month on top of your baseline, and the sessions are $70 to $200 a session, whatever you're charging as a personal trainer.
How do you reconcile that with, well, because the cap is higher, the barrier for entry is higher, obviously that's going to help accountability and adherence, but it's going to remove, a certain portion of the market, or a large portion of the market, especially if you're an earlier coach who doesn't have that authority. How do you think about that?
Well, you can just start by charging $100 a month.
Right.
And it's super simple, right? It's $100 a month, and you get all this. You see me once a month, and that's my baseline membership, because I'm a greener trainer. I'm making 100K a year now, and I've got 80 clients. And then as you get more results, and as you're using these clients, it's like, bang, I'm going to go up. If you want, like, you can start really low. It's like, hey, I'm charging $75 a month. Like, I remember when I started PT in 2002. Like, I've been this guy for 18 years now. So I was at Fitness First in Florida, and I was charging like $35 or $33 for half an hour. And that was, when I first started. And I wasn't selling results. I was selling time with me.
Yeah.
And as I grew, I understood that I need to stop selling the weekly 2 sessions a week or the weekly 3 sessions a week or whatever we were selling back then. I need to start selling outcomes, because that's what people actually wanted. And if you can wrap your head around how to actually get results, that's when you can start to sell this membership with you. Because if you're selling a membership with you with an outcome-based sale, it's like 4 months, 6 months, whatever it is, and you don't get the result, then you just look like a fool.
Yeah, and that's your fault, right? That's the coach's fault, right? Because something was not right in your system. Well, there could be client fault as well. But, I've seen, if your systems are anything like Ben's, even like, and I'm sure they are, right? Then you look at it, and I did not know I was walking into it. And I love it. Like, the check-ins, it's comprehensive, it's thorough, it's like perfect for a guy like me. But there are many people who would look at something like that and be intimidated by the comprehensiveness, and like, oh my god, I got to fill all this out, I got to do all this nutrition, this habit tracker, and this sleep tracker. It's like, how do you maximize adherence in the face of that intimidation that some people may feel?
I think what we have to look at is to have proper buy-in from a client to a personal trainer, you need to actually have a deeper conversation with them. So, it's finding the underlying root cause of why they want to train and why they want to transform their life. And then when they're doing that and you have the root cause of the reason they're actually hiring you, that means you're going to have more buy-in from them as a person.
Sure.
And then you can ask more of them. If you're telling them they just want to lose 10 kilos, then they're like, well, if I want to lose 10 kilos because I've got two kids, I want to be a role model for them because I want to have more energy and be there for them as they grow up. It's like, okay, fantastic. So if you want to be the role model, we need to start measuring stuff so we can manage you towards being a role model. So my conversation starts to change with the client, and everything is about being a role model. And the 10 kilos is it's a goal. It's a tangible outcome we can actually track. And at that 10 kilo mark, that's essentially when you become that, feel like you're becoming that role model for your children. So when I'm using this type of language, I get more buy-in, and then from that it's like, okay, we can scale back some of the metrics. Like I created an app over the last couple of years, which is Keystone. We have about 200 coaches on that at the moment, and that was just through word of mouth so far. And with that, we track sleep, we track nutrition protocols. Like some people will do macros, some people will do portion control, and some people will do focus on what they're doing as far as their lifts with progressive overload. Some people will just track their training sessions. So sometimes you do have to scale back the language you're using with general population. We know that, but we need to look at the metrics, right? Are you sleeping 7 hours a night? Are you eating 80% whole foods? Are you increasing your nutrition IQ so you know what to eat when you're eating out? Have we started to help you with habit protocols so you're moving 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day as a minimum? And then we go, are you doing your 4 training sessions a week? And after the first 4 to 8 weeks with you, they might just submit an empty workout tracker, and they just get in the habit of submitting they're actually training 4 times a week. And after 8 weeks, they've started to move forward. And it's like, okay, cool. To accelerate these results, we need to now submit exact amount of weights you're lifting so we can start to create that progressive overload and have that hockey stick kind of results to get you towards that role model. So it's like, any habit is built off small, simple steps. Most times people will say you need massive action, which is like a complete life overhaul. But the only people that ever do a complete life overhaul is the ones that have like some form of health scare. So they might have had a heart attack or something like that. Most people will require small, simple steps to change their habits. And then they start to increase their self-confidence, their self-integrity. They stop lying to themselves. They stop justifying things because they start to feel like a winner and they're on the right direction. And when people feel like they're winning, they're willing to do more and more and more. So you need to get buy-in from the client for them to do more for you. And then as they're doing more for you, you give them more to do.
And then it's a never-ending cycle of
Yep,
upward trajectory, one percenters.
exactly.
You said, and I think I want to circle back to it because it's really important, to establish all this buy-in, one of the key things is you establish their why, right? Their purpose, beyond the superficial.
Yeah.
I got my own. I hope everyone has their own. What is your system for establishing someone's purpose and why behind the training?
I think to start with is just a deeper conversation. Like I go look at a couple of things. So I go through this thing which is the motivation equation, right? So motivation equals value times expectancy over distraction times delay, or impulsivity times delay. And I took this from Pierce Steele's book, The Procrastination Equation. So when we look at motivation, the value times expectancy, the value they place on the goal. So we have to go super deep on that, because if I want to lose 10 kilos, it's like, well, how long have you wanted to lose 10 kilos on? The last 5 years. Okay, so the value isn't very high. It's like a 4 out of 10. So for it to be a 10 out of 10, we need to have this conversation and go deeper into it. It's like, well, why do you want to lose 10 kilos? Well, how will your life change? If you don't lose 10 kilos, how will your life change in the next, 5 years, the next 10 years? If you keep putting on 2 kilos a year every year for the next 10 years, so what you have to do is you have to dig them into a pit of despair. So if you keep gaining 2 kilos a year for 10 years, that's 20 more kilos. That's 30 kilos overweight. So you tell me in 10 years how you're going to feel, how your health conditions going to be. Tell me how your relationships are going to be, how your relationships are with your kids. Are you going to be able to do more with them or less with them? Are you going to die early? Okay. Are you going to see your grandkids? Is it important to you for you to be on this earth an extra 5 to 10 years, or are you happy to die at 70 instead of 80? Are you happy to, not be there and be able to be energetic with your grandkids? Like, you tell me, because we're on a fork of the road to have the best version of your life or the worst version of your life. And this decision right now to lose this 10 kilos is the fork in the road. You might not think of it as a big decision, but this is the biggest decision of your life. And you have to go all in and become somewhat obsessive on this, because you have one life and you're playing like you have two.
Damn. That's it. Do you have that verbal conversation, or is that a written thing you get them to articulate?
It's a verbal conversation. So it's like you have to drive them into this, like, because most people go, oh, I want to lose 5 kilos so I can look good. It's like, dude, it's like that. Like, if you wanted to lose 5 kilos to look good, you would have done it, like, 4 years ago. But you keep saying you're going to do something. You start something, you stop something. You start something, you stop something. So it's not because you want to look good. Like, how will your life change if you do it? And how will your life change if you don't do it? And now let's cascade that across the next 5 to 15 years. And truly, how will your life change? So you need to future pace them when they're achieving these results, and future pace them when not actually achieving these results, because it's the one decision then changes every other decision after that. And they have to understand this one decision today could be the best decision for the rest of their life. And when they get to that and they truly understand that, and you have a deeper meaning, it's like, fantastic. We moved you from a 5 out of 10 for your value on this motivation up to a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. And then we have expectancy, right? So if you look at expectancy, that's why someone is actually hiring a coach, because they don't expect for them to be able to achieve the result themselves, because they've tried in the past. So their expectancy is like a 3 out of 10. So that's why people try and do things at home and they keep falling off the bandwagon, because their expectancy is so low. So from hiring a coach right now, your expectancy already goes up to a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Now, if you are a coach with a track record of thousands of people that you've transformed their life, the expectancy goes up even higher, right? If you're paying a coach who, essentially probably costs a little bit more, your expectancy goes up even higher, because clearly they're more credible, clearly they have more education, clearly they have more testimonials behind them. If you have a coach that's checking with you every single week and tracking your metrics and really caring, it's like, again, your expectancy goes up every higher. So for us as coaches, our true goal is to increase someone's value and increase someone's expectancy in getting those results. If we increase those two things, then all of a sudden the numerators on top of these denominators that increase motivation, all of a sudden, bang, they start moving forward. And that's when, like, for me, I'm not a proponent of like more flexible dieting, but I will try and get, and also like a more of a balanced macro ratio. But I'll put someone on something like a low carb kickstart for the first 7 to 10 days to help, even if it's dropping a couple of kilos of water weight for the general pop, and they might lose a kilo of fat. But all of a sudden, they drop 3 kilos over the first 7 to 10 days. They haven't done that in the past for a long time. Their expectancy skyrockets. That results with you increase even more, and they trust you and they buy on you even further. Then we add carbs back in. They have more buy-in now, and they follow anything you say. And all we're doing is we're playing a game with our nutrition protocols to get further buy-in from the client. So we have this client long-term success, not just like short-term wins or slow progress. Because if you give someone slow progress who's Gen Pop, they're going to fall off the bandwagon as well, because they have unrealistic expectations.
Dude, that's a great strategy to trigger buy-in. Do you have, I'm sure you have many more. What else do you use in your toolkit? Because it's to trigger that initial buy-in to then get people on the bandwagon of doing 95% of the things you say.
Yeah, man. I think it depends on the niche market you go with, right? So I coach some people who coach golfers, right? So there's some, even when I did the Paul Check stuff back in like 2006, there's simple like mobility drills that increase their range of motion by like 30 degrees straight away. And the people are like, holy hell, you're a witch doctor. So like anything you can do that gives them like a dramatic increase to move the needle forward in the result that they are going to get straight away is going to get there. If you might get someone who's like super tight back pain and you might go through some mobility drills and all of a sudden it's released straight away and they're moving better. It's like, wow, like oh my gosh, like, and this is why ongoing education is so important, right? Because it gives you a couple of, if you only have a hammer, then you see everything as a nail, right? You need to put more tools in your tool belt, so you can pull them out at the right person for the right time to get the fast result to then get buy-in. That's why with RBT, we do 28-day challenges. I hate 28-day challenges. I don't believe in 28-day challenges.
Okay.
But I meet the market where the market is, so then I can give them a result, so then I can sell them a long-term success. Now, whole 28-day challenge, we do seminars teaching them how short-term success is going to lead, or short-term fixes is going to lead them to long-term failure, and why they need to strength train, why they need to move from portion control to flexible dieting, why they need to understand eating out, why they need to have this as a lifestyle change, not a 28-day challenge. So like, our marketing, and a lot of people get upset with the way I market, over the years, but like, that's fine. Like P90X did $1 billion worth of phone sales through muscle confusion, right? Like Tony Horton, like, and the amount of lives that Tony Horton changed with P90X, I don't know if anyone's heard of P90X, or maybe I'm old now. But like with him, he did $1 billion in sales. Now, you might not agree with his methods, but I bet you he's changed more lives than anyone who's listened to this podcast, because of the amount of people that started doing stuff. And I think as coaches, we need to take the blinkers off for what is right and what is wrong sometimes, as long as you're not being an absolute idiot, but you want to try and get buy-in so you can change more lives. And sometimes that means you need to compromise slightly with what's best in the long term to what's best right now to get more people into the long term. I think this is just something you have to, essentially, weigh up with yourself. Like, what is my short term and what is my long term goals? How can I get more people on my short term so that I can get more people on the long term? Because if you just go out there and start marketing, hey, it's going to be a 6-month transformation. It's going to be grueling. You're going to have deep grit and discipline. Like, the amount of people are going to sign up to your services is going to be very low. But if you give them a sort of a quick result, a quick buy-in result, all of a sudden, the more people that come to you and stay with you long term is going to be dramatically increased, which means at the end of the day, we got in this game to change lives, and that means you get to change more lives. So like, that's the top end of the motivation equation. And then we look at the bottom end of the motivation equation, and that's distraction or impulsivity times delay. So what's all the impulsivity that's going to keep you away from your goals? So, some people, it could be their phone, it could be Uber Eats, it could be the apps, because it's like impulse, like buying food. It could be the food that's in their house. It could be impulsivity with their friendship groups and people who always take them out to go drinking. So it's like, okay, cool. Delete those 2 apps. Take the food out of your house. You're not going to see Susie and Julie for the next 4 months because you're actually sabotaging friends. So it's like, look at all the distractions in their life. Remove the distractions, take them from an 8 out of 10 all the way down to like a 2 out of 10. It's like, cool, we decrease the denominator there. That's like delay factor, right? We can't talk about 4 months. We need to go away from the outcome-based goal, move it to the process-based goal, and start making weekly wins. And this is where like Atomic Habits, James Clear kicks in a lot, right? So how can we create weekly wins for you, or even daily wins, where we're skyrocketing dopamine, you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden you're just on this winner's win, right? An object in motion tends to stay in motion. Right. So we need to have daily wins. We need to have weekly wins. If you do your 7-day weekly win, you'll get a reward. If you do your monthly win, have a bigger reward. And all of a sudden we get our 4 monthly wins. So if we can decrease delay to a 1 to 7 day marker, then our clients feel like they're winning. So we decrease delay, we decrease impulsivity and distraction, we increase value, we increase expectation. All of a sudden you've got motivated clients who get results.
Now, you just synthesized probably half the Atomic Habits book right there in 5 minutes, which I thought was phenomenal. But you're talking about environmental design, right? You're talking about, because I want to bring some context around that. You're talking about it is very difficult to succeed and prosper in a self-destructive, self-limiting environment. You're running uphill versus creating an environment that is positive, uplifting, and that encourages positive habits.
Well, what's the fastest way to learn a language, right?
Go to the country.
Exactly.
Environment.
So you get away from all the people talking your language, and you move to the country talking the language you want to learn, and all of a sudden you learn the language really fast. And that's, again, why I created RBT. So I created RBT to create environments and communities that were establishing habits of transformation rather than leaving people into their own countries of obesity and unhappiness. So come into my country
Yeah.
where we get fit and feel good, and you, instead of staying in your country where you've been overweight and felt like crap the last, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like you're just designing environments where people thrive.
And I think that's how cults work, but it's how cults can be effective, right?
Yeah.
I know people get very scared of the word cult, but like guys like Robert Greene and they talk about this stuff, and tribes and cults and religions, like they kind of cross-pollinate in a lot of ways, like people coming together in a similar ideas, shared values, and they protect themselves from the outside destructive world.
100%. I think like tribes are probably one of the most crucial thing. Your tribe should try and have its own language.
Yeah.
Look like flexible dieting, like they have their own language, right? If it fits your macros, all that sort of stuff. So it's like there's acronyms, there's languages people speak that they fit into a tribe. The stronger your tribe's beliefs, the more that people stand for something and stand against something, and they protect the people in the tribe and they push out those people who aren't in the tribe, which is like community small group training gyms create tribes. CrossFit's like a very deep tribe, right? You always know you're talking to a CrossFitter because they'll tell you they're doing CrossFit before you ask.
Yeah.
But that's an amazing tribe. And if someone bags CrossFit, they'll jump on a communication thread, even if they don't know who the person is, and they'll start hammering people because they try to, attack their tribe. So I think, if you can create your own tribe, and it can be as deep as you want or as shallow as you want, but the deeper the tribe, the more strong your messaging needs to be, the more you have to stand for something and stand against something. And I think with coaches, this is something that people don't want to do, because if I stand for something, then I'm going to lose someone. I'm not going to get all the clients. But if you try and get all the clients, you're going to get none of the clients, and no one's going to ever remember you. So you need to, especially like in this online game, or if I was a personal trainer, I would coach a specific sub niche of human beings, because this is who I stand for. This is who I help. This is what my formula is all around. And, it's different between us having like 16 gyms or, one gym. It's different between me having, 40 clients, and 2,000 clients. So like, as you go bigger and bigger, your tribe isn't as strong, or your niche market isn't as strong. But if you're super niche, like your tribe has to be super tight. Like one of my coaching clients, he looks after menopausal ladies, right? He has a 50,000 females in a Facebook group, and he just cracked $1 million a year just coaching menopausal ladies. And like, so he is so strong with his tribe, and people, they know that they're in the tribe. They know that they're not in the tribe. They don't have menopause, right? So
very clear.
It's very clear. And then like a tribe will bond around the common humanity that tribe goes through, like veganism. There's tribes. So we need to go, who is your tribe that you want to help as a coach for the next 10 years, next 20 years, next 30 years? Find that tribe, serve that tribe better than anyone else. Have preeminence, like surpass all others with the value you serve to that marketplace. And all of a sudden, your demand for your services will go through the roof. You still have a limited supply. If you want to work that hybrid method we talked about earlier, you start going from $100 to $600 a month, and you start going up to that $500K personal trainer, still only doing 20 hours a week, because your demand is so high, because your tribe is so tight.
That sounds like a very solid system. However, one of the limitations, or limitations of tribes, is that people become tribal. Like people become like very egotistical. They begin to become more closed-minded, perhaps. They begin to not be as open-minded to new ideas and experiences. And oh wait, there's two sides of the coin. There's a lot of nuance in a lot of these training and nutrition and religion. Like there's nuance. How do you even yourself as a human being practice critical thinking and open-mindedness so you don't get bogged down in dogma?
I think you're overestimating the want for knowledge from the general population. So they want to know, they want to think, okay, that there is something out there that they haven't done, and that's why they haven't got the result. So everyone's always looking for the unique mechanism. So as your tribe, you can be malleable with the direction you're taking your tribe. But for you, you could be a tribal leader, but also always you don't want to get stuck down the dogma that is
Yes.
your tribe. But
Yes.
your tribe, you need to shove them into the unique mechanism so that people want to have a reason that they haven't got the result in the past. So if you tell them the reason is just because they haven't, eaten too much and they haven't moved enough, they'll be like, screw you, man. Like you don't know my life. You don't know what it is. But if you tell someone the reason they haven't got results is because they haven't done carb cycling, they're like, yeah, that's the reason. I haven't done that carb cycling thing. So you're giving people an out to become in. And then for that, and that's general population, right? Because they always want to think that there's something they haven't tried, and they come into your tribe now on an avenue, and then you can educate that tribe on the malleable ways to get to the end result. So I think that's how I personally look at it.
Yeah, but I think it's important because I like I can I don't know a lot of context around you, Travis, but now beginning to get more. Like I can see, and we mentioned it earlier, how people could be critical of your approach, right? That's probably very easy to be, especially when you look at the superficial 30-second, 60-second clip. But I think what's missed is like I'm hearing you use these techniques as a gateway to get in the door, but you're not selling short-term solutions because you're educating on that's not going to work. You need the
Yeah,
long-term thing.
100%. That's day one of RBT. We do a seminar, and in the first seminar, before they even start their 28-day challenge,
Yeah.
we tell them that they might lose 5 kilos in the first 28 days, but unless they commit to the next 16 weeks, then they're not going to actually change their life. They're going to lose weight. They're going to gain weight again. They're going to be back to where they are in 8 weeks' time. So we need to go, cool, this is portion control. This is our small, simple steps. We go then into calories and macronutrients. Then we diet you down. We look for plateaus. And so have you ever hit a plateau before? They're all agreeing because most people have. Have you ever been told something about your metabolism and dieting, crashing, and all that sort of stuff? And most people have. Then we go into reverse dieting structure to try and build your metabolism back up. And this is the RBT method. Stage one of the RBT method is a 28-day challenge to lose the first 5 kilos to make you start moving forward.
Yeah.
The RBT method is a 48-week method that actually transforms your life, your metabolism, and you actually feeling good and enjoying the process that is strength training and nutrition. And, it's giving you the freedom to live your life long term without the anxiety that is around, getting your ideal body.
We've talked about it a couple times. You brought it up: flexible dieting versus portion control. Can you explain for those who don't know what those are and which you find more effective, or rather, when you use which?
Yeah, man. Like I think everyone has different nutrition IQs, right? So for us, like your education level around a topic. If I was going to go into coach personal trainers, most personal trainers, I would go towards like a calories and macronutrients approach, right? So they're more analytical, their IQ is a little bit higher. They want to be more specific, and with more specificity, we can get sometimes better results, but we can get more adherence because we're managing the minutia, the nuances. So if we are finding out your daily caloric needs, we put you into a deficit. We'll give you a macro breakdown. We can suggest foods around that macro breakdown, so you're hitting your 7-day meal plan. We look at the amount of calories you need to eat on a weekly basis, not a daily basis. And then out of those calories, we'll give you 20% flexibility for like more process-based foods. I'm not going to go 100% into let's eat Twinkies and donuts to fill my macros, but I'll give you a 20% approach. And then 80% of our foods want to become from whole foods, where we're going to make sure we're hitting our micronutrient threshold. So we're starting to not only look good, but we start to feel good. We start to, essentially work at most optimally. So that's like when we're looking at flexible dieting. And again, if someone's come and they've trained in the past and they've been to the gyms, then we'll take them into a flexible dieting approach from day one. But again, most of the general population, if you push them straight into flexible dieting and they have no self-control, then what happens is that instead of going 80-20, 80% whole foods, 20% processed things that they love, they'll start to swing the other way. What I've found, and they feel like they can't control it, or it becomes too hard because they don't know how much protein is in a chicken breast. They don't know how like it becomes such an elaborate process for them to understand. Then it does become too hard. And again, their expectancy isn't huge the roof, and their buy-in to you isn't huge through the roof at the very start. So at the start, we go towards portion control. So we'll use like more of a precision nutrition approach, which is, you got 4 pounds of protein for a female, a couple of fifths of, 8 fifths of veg, 2 fifths of carbs, and 3 thumbs of fat. And these are your allowed foods lists for the 28-day challenge. And there's a not allowed food list. So it's like we're going to stick to this allowed food list to decrease overwhelm, to decrease decision fatigue, because all of a sudden, if you can decide to eat anything, then you get overwhelmed with deciding what to eat from anything. So if we give you an allowed food list at the start of your journey, you have to decide between like 30 different proteins, 8 different carbohydrates, and a list of 20 veg and 8 fats. All of a sudden, we've reduced the amount of decisions you can make. It allows you to decrease overwhelm and anxiety. And you're like, okay, cool. I just have to eat 4 pounds of protein a day and I'm good to go. And I'm going to be on track to getting my results. And, if we can decrease overwhelm and we can get results, all of a sudden, they're like, I start to feel good. Now give me the next part of my education. So we're going from portion control education into calorie control education, because you have further buy-in from someone. They've already started getting results, and you can take them to the next level.
That's a great system. How do you determine? Do you start everybody on portion control, or if you don't, how do you determine? Do you have like a clear-cut way to define who goes where?
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? So it's like anyone that comes into our 28-day challenge, they'll go straight into a portion control. And then post 28 days, some people will stay portion control if they're not ready for, more of a, flexible dieting style calorie approach. But most people will go into a calorie approach after the 28 days. When we get like referrals coming in, or we're marketing like a 16-week challenge, which is obviously a slightly long-term challenge. In that initial assessment, we'll go through what have you been through, what have you tried in the past, okay, what did you like, what did you not like, and we'll assess their IQ as far as their nutrition, and if they understand calories and macros and all the rest of it. And then we'll go, okay, which is the best starting point for this person? Is it more calorie-based nutrition, or is it more portion-based? And that's when it becomes more individual.
Got it. That's very useful. To shift gears, we talked about habits earlier in the conversation. I wonder, as a human being, what are your keystone habits that you find the most effective for you that you have to do? And then on top of that, for the human race, if you can do that, what do you think are the biggest ones that could dramatically, fundamentally change someone's trajectory in life?
Keystone habits, like for me, like everyone talks about morning routines, but you can't get a good morning routine unless you're having a good nighttime routine. Yep. So nighttime comes before morning. People don't get that. So, for me, like I'll talk about my habits, right? So it's like, okay, cool, 6:30 p.m., blue blockers go on. And that means obviously for me, I'm trying to wind down my stimulation. I'm going to try and make sure that my body starts to move into nighttime mode. 7:30 p.m., my phone goes down, so I don't start getting distracted. I don't start getting to a scrolling mechanism. I'm not like getting the constant like kicks and hits of, like what's next. So like my phone goes away at 7:30 p.m. 9 o'clock, I'll get in bed and I'll be asleep by 9:44. So it's like, I personally, again, like it might sound regimented, but discipline equals freedom, right? So when we look at this, this is my discipline for me, because this is what I like. I like to feel good in the morning. Okay, would you like to feel good in the morning, have a productive day, and feel amazing?
Absolutely.
Would you like to watch an extra hour of Netflix? Me, I choose to feel good instead of Netflix. So then that's my nighttime sort of routine. Don't take any subs or anything like that. It's just like, make sure your room is dark. Make sure everything else, like your environment, as far as your sleep hygiene, is on point. So I think sleep is the keystone habit. If we don't sleep, then we're not going to train the next day. We're going to start to overeat the next day. Our willpower will be lower the next day. So it means you're going to, the muffin you might have walked away from, you're going to more likely get, because we're trying to feel good, because we're trying to replace the feeling of that lack of sleep. So, get your sleep in, and then having a great morning routine, right?
I pause you? Can I pause you there on the night routine real quick? You said two things. Well, one, when you get to bed at 9, are you reading in bed?
Yeah, I do. So I read before I go to sleep, and it's probably the easiest way for me to wind down. Me and Liv, we read, and then we get to knock off in like 45 minutes later.
Yeah, once I started doing that habit, my sleep latency was always long, and I'm like, fuck, man, supplements and this and that. Once I started doing that, I feel tired. Otherwise, I do not ever feel tired. Almost ever. Are you the same?
100%, yeah.
I almost feel like, should I just keep working until I just get tired? Is that what my body's telling me? But no, it's modern society is tricking my brain.
100%, man. And it sucks, right? So that's why the blue blockers are so essential for me. As soon as I put them on, I went from like about 32 minutes of, not soon, but over the next couple of weeks, I went from about 32 minutes of deep sleep up to about an hour and a half to 2 hours of deep sleep each night.
Wow.
So like the subtle changes over time, it can give you, amazing results or benefits. So like for me, like the nighttime routine for me is super crucial for me to feel fantastic the next day. And, like that's imperative towards who I want to be on this earth.
Sure. 6:30, you put the blockers on. Do you do that just when the light cycle is shorter in the colder months, or do you do that in the summer too? Because the sun doesn't go down until around 8 around now.
Yeah, it's more in the shorter months, but I would say I probably put them about 7 o'clock at the moment. I've got 2 kids, right? So, for me, it's a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So I put them still about 7 o'clock now. Because if I put them on at like 8, I personally find I'm not as tired at that 9 o'clock, 9:44.
Yeah.
So like I'm trying to force myself, because in summer months, like I want to be awake longer, and I don't want to be awake longer because I get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
So it's like I force myself to try and get to sleep by 9:44 at nighttime. So I force it with blue blockers. I help it with blue blockers.
Sure. No, that makes complete sense. It's interesting because I've been titrating mine back, and I think that's the way to go, man. Like I used to do an hour before I get in bed. I'm like, I don't think that's enough. The sun's been down for an hour already. Like, let me cue myself with the sun up and sun down.
Yeah.
You have children. I think those are tattooed on your palm, right?
Yeah. No. This is it says a more
Love.
Vincent. So love conquers all.
Oh, my
so I
bad.
think like I got Jackson and Finn. So like I think 2 things for me that drive me. I'm getting that tattoo here is like memento mori. So like death comes to us all, and love rules us. So I think if we can live by 2 principles, it's love and death.
Dude, that's really... Go.
I was like, I don't know, but I think it just sounds like me. So like, I'm happy with love and death. I think if we can accept that today could be our last day on this earth, then you need to treat today like it's the last day on this earth. So play full out. And that's memento mori for me. And love conquers all. It's like, if anyone comes at me with hate, there's a lot of hate in this world. It's like, I need to come back with kindness and love, because I don't know what they're going through. And I think if we can understand those 2 things, we get to have a happier and more joyful life.
Absolutely, that's the classic Stoic philosophy, and I was kind of accidentally interrupting you because I have that similarity. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ryan Holiday. There's a Stoic website. They sell coins. I don't know if you've seen it. One of them says memento mori. One of them says amore fati, love of fate. Okay, not merely to bear what is necessary, but to embrace it and love it for what it is. And I just found that interesting. You tattooed it on your body. I have those 2 coins every morning. I'm looking at, pondering, and I think there's something to Stoic philosophy as an interfacing with the world more effectively as an operating system. I'm not sure where to go with a question for it, but have you interacted with that? How has it been resourceful for you?
Man, I think Stoic philosophy is one of the most crucial things that people can look into if they can,
Right.
and I believe they should. So, like for me, I embrace it as much as I possibly can. I think the obstacle is the way, and I think for us, we as a society run away from obstacles because we feel like we shouldn't have them, or we then feel like this isn't fair. Why me? Instead, I think if the person with the biggest challenges is put for you in front of you because you are preparing for it, because it's preparing you for who you need to be. So if we understand, if I run from obstacles, I'm running from all my potential on this earth. If I move towards obstacles, it's preparing me for who I'm supposed to be on this earth. So I think like that's the most crucial distinction that I like to look at. It's like I go through a lot of obstacles in my life, and the bigger your goals, the more obstacles you'll face. And they're not there to like harm you; they're there to challenge you to become a better human being. So I think that's the one way. The other way, when we look at Stoic philosophy, it's like I can only control me, right? So it's like I can't control everyone on my outside. I can't control I can't have expectations on other people because I don't know what they're going through. But if I can control my emotions and my actions, I think that is one of the most crucial things. And whilst it's not Stoic philosophy, when we look at Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Meaning, it's probably one of the most pivotal books that I read in my life. He was a psychologist in the Holocaust, right? And they so many things, people getting pulled out in front of him, getting killed, and he said, "You can do anything to me, but take away my last human freedom, which is my ability to choose my own way in any single circumstance." So it's like you can hate on me, but I can choose how I react. And he also coined the whole stimulus to response. And I think with our clients, we try and teach this. It's like it's moving towards what you want most instead of what you want now. So like the stimulus is I feel like a donut. The response is I get a donut, but the stimulus could be your boss giving you a bad day. The response is a donut. If we can expand that, or someone cuts me off in traffic, stimulus. Response is I flip them the bird and I choose the emotion of anger. If I can expand the gap between stimulus and response, I can, instead of moving to like fight or flight, or if I can just take a breath, I can use the power of breath to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 2, breathe out for 6 seconds. I use pause and plan instead. And it's like, cool. Do I know what that person's going through? No. Did they mean to cut me off? Maybe. Could they have been going towards the hospital because their kid's sick? Possibly. Would I be frustrated if they cut me off to go towards their sick kid in hospital? No. Cool. I'll choose that. Now I haven't chosen to flip the bird or chosen anger. I've chosen empathy. And now I'm not taking that emotion and that residual emotion across the rest of my day, giving me poor choices. So I feel like, again, if we can focus on ourselves and live true to our own life and not worry about what other people are doing, which is probably one of the hardest things. And the Stoic philosophy is like every morning, you're like a person shooting for a bullseye, right? You in the morning you pull back that bow with that arrow and you let go of that arrow and you try and hit the bullseye. Now everything else around you, like you can't control. It could be other people knocking the arrow down. It could be the weather knocking the arrow down. Like you can't control whether the arrow gets knocked down. All you can control is your aim, and you pull back the bow and you let go of the arrow. And then if you don't hit the bullseye tomorrow, you wake up, you pull back the arrow bow, and you let go of the arrow again. And I think that's all we can do as human beings. But we get so down that other people knock our arrow down. We get so down when we miss the bullseye, then we sit in the corner with our obstacles and we never move forward, rather than understanding we just have to pull back the bow again and let go of the arrow again as soon as we possibly can. And that's how you play life.
That is a beautiful metaphor for the day-to-day challenges of life. Pulling the bow back and repeat, repeat, repeat. What was I going to say? You mentioned about... Oh, that's right. You mentioned beginning with kindness and compassion, and I think that's something I've been thinking about recently more, choosing kindness, and it comes back to this quote, it's like, everyone is suffering from something that we know nothing about. Everybody.
Dude, 100%. And I think that's the sad thing, that we worry so much about ourselves instead of others. When people react towards us in a negative light, we choose to, instead of accept and empathize, we try and defend and attack. So it's like if someone's trying to come at you, you don't know why they're coming at you. You don't know what's going in their personal life. You don't know what's going, the 5 minutes before they started talking to you. You just got to have some empathy. It's like if their life is that hard right now and they're walking through their version of hell right now, you need to be more kind. If someone attacks you, show them love to try and help them. And you move away from our first instinct, which is to protect ourselves and essentially, some people attack back rather than move towards them and give them a hug, give them empathy, give them kindness. And I think if we did that, the world would be so much better.
Absolutely. I think leading by example and being the change you want to see in the world is a big part of that answer. But to go back, we're talking about habits. You talked about sleep. What about keystone habits? Of course, that's a big one for humans. Like, that's one of the biggest, right? Do you have one or two more you wanted to mention for everybody else?
I think like some other keystone habits is gratitude. Gratitude, deploying some form of self awareness. I think we as humans have a lack of self awareness on why we're actually doing some things. So, like what we could do, we talked about sleep, and then it's bookending our days with gratitude. So we're looking at three things you can do in the morning. Which what are the three things you're grateful for today? Just in general, like the sky, like my kids, my wife. It could be anything. Three grateful things. And at the end of the day, what are the three things you're grateful for today? And if we can start to write that down and we start to deploy gratitude on the bookends of our day, because we can truly control the bookends of our day, what happens is we become more aware of the gratitude through our life because now we're searching for it. And every single day, while there might be troubling times, but you can be grateful for those troubling times as well. And it's just like when you buy a car. If you buy a new car, you didn't see it on the road, and all of a sudden you buy that new car and you see it everywhere,
Yeah.
because you have this heightened awareness of that car, a reticular activating system. So I think if you can start deploying gratitude in the bookends, the morning and nighttime, then you're more grateful throughout the day. You start to see gratitude everywhere. And if we can see gratitude everywhere, instead of living a life that runs at a lower frequency, we start to run our life at a higher frequency with joy, with appreciation for what we do have, rather than me living with, oh, I wish I had that. And we have some more appreciation on a day-to-day basis. And if we have more appreciation on a day-to-day basis, we run at a positive state rather than a negative state. Our state affects our stories. So the stories we tell ourselves, whether I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, I can't stick to a diet, all the rest of it, right? Or we start to tell ourselves better quality stories. And then we start to tell ourselves better quality stories. We start to stick to the strategies, right? So everything rolls around gratitude, which then infects, or does infects our state, our story, and our strategy execution, and deploying that in every aspect of our life. So I think that is probably the keystone habit is gratitude and perspective. Like you might feel like you're having like a bad day, but your best day is someone else's, your worst day is someone else's best day. So, stop being so entitled, deploy gratitude, harness perspective, and then the rest of your day will run at a better frequency.
Absolutely. Very well said. I think when it changes your story, it reminds me of Atomic Habits. It's like changing your identity, like how you see yourself, your values.
Exactly.
To finish off, are you good to keep chatting another 20 minutes, Travis?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Good, man. Appreciate it. Because these conversations go very deep and wide. I wanted to talk about automation and systems. There's one thing I've learned from a guy like you or a Ben, who I consider you guys are very similar people. What are your main systems of automation and organization that you've created for yourself that have fundamentally changed your life?
I think when I was a P, it's quite interesting, right? When I was a PT, and as you do, as you are a personal trainer, like everything is so regimented. It's like, hour blocks for sessions. You schedule in, when you're going to go and pee. Like you schedule in everything, right? And then when I opened my gym, I pushed back against time management because I was so regimented for so many years. I was just like, oh no, I don't want it anymore. And then with that, I started to be really busy but not productive. So then I flipped back into time management and it truly allowed me to propel forward. So when I look at systems as far as time management productivity, that again starts my morning routine. So I wake up 4:30. I go for a run in the mornings. I don't go for a big run. I just go for a run because I love how I feel good after a run. So I run about 2Ks in the mornings on average. About or go out for a run for about 15 minutes. I'll come back, then I'll meditate, I'll read, I'll have a cold shower, and that's like my morning routine that sets me up for the day. And my morning routine is done by 6 a.m. So this morning packs my psyche to prepare myself for the day. Then for me, like, the kids and stuff happen between like sort of 6 and 8. But then I need to try and harness not time management, but energy management. So for us as human beings, we need to start talking more about energy management than time management because, if you are, again, running at a higher energy or higher frequency, your productivity, goes up tenfold. So you might, where it might take something 2 hours, it takes 1 hour when you're super motivated and super focused on the task. So the first thing of the day, I will start with education for 50 minutes and I'll run. I've tried Pomodoros. I've tried, working in 90 minutes, like the 90-minute meridians. For me, it's 50 minutes on and 10 minutes off. So I'll work for 50 minutes. I'll start with my education. I'll have a 10-minute break. I'll go for a walk. I might do a couple of pull-ups or something like that if I'm walking past the gym, and I'll walk back and I'll go for another 50 minutes. I try and have 5 deep work blocks a day. So I'll go like from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. I'll break for 30 minutes for lunch. I'll go 12:30, 1:30, and I'll train again like, 2:33 in the afternoon. Some days I only get 4 blocks, but then I'll push all my calls. And I'll push everything normally back until 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock at the earliest. And that's when I have my reactive time. So everything up until 1 p.m. for me is proactive. It's like, okay, cool. Let's focus on my education. Let's focus on my content creation. Let's focus on the nuances that are going to move the business forward as far as marketing, sales, leadership, customer experience. So that's the first, 80% or 75% of my working day. The back 25% is normally meetings, reactive council stuff or anything like that, because I don't want the reactive moments of my life to take away my willpower for when I need it most, which is in the proactive moments of my life, which is creation, right? Not reactivity. So like that's my energy. I need to walk for about 10 minutes every hour to reset, to refocus, and to go again. I'll look on a Sunday, I'll plan out my week, but my weekly plan is based off my quarterly plan. So that's like how my day runs. 2:30 I'll train, I'll come back, I might do my, another hour of work from like 3:30 to 4:30. I'm pretty much done for the day. But when I look at it, so I'll do my quarterly plan at the start of the quarter and I'll look at the businesses and it's like, okay, cool. Where do we need to move the needle forward over the next 90 days? And for every single business, you should always be trying to improve. It's like, cool, we get results in this time frame. How can we get it in this time frame? A customer experience is this. How can we get it to that? So it's like, okay, for the next 90 days, our key focuses, these are the top 3 focuses. It's focusing on our team culture. It's going to focus on our, customer acquisition. It's going to focus on XYZ, right? So then we break it down into the 15 steps that would be best to achieve that. And it's like, okay, these 5 steps happen in month 3, these 5 steps happen in month 2, these 5 steps happen in month 1. So now I have a 90-day plan for optimization of my business. I have a 90-day plan for growth of my business. And, that's where I sort of start to go, cool, this is what I'm doing for the month. And then I break down those 5 things over the course of the weeks of the month. So it's like, that's week 4, that's week 3, that's week 2, that's week 1. So on a Sunday, when I'm looking to prepare for my week, is I'll pull the stuff that I need from the businesses to do. I'll slot them into my deep work blocks because I'm structured from 4:30 a.m. My diary or my schedule is full until like essentially 9 o'clock at night. I'll go bang, 50 minutes there, 50 minutes there. what is the task and what is the outcome I'm trying to achieve for the task in that 50-minute block. So it's super structured, and all of a sudden I wake up, and as I'm going through it, I tick, tick, tick. If I need to defer some stuff, I have a couple of hours later in the week, which is for my deferred tasks, to make sure I finish them off in the week that I had, and I schedule that in, deferred task time. And then I wake up every morning, everything's laid out, and just like a robot going through the motions, but for me, it's the robot that's going through the motions to become the best version of me. Because again, discipline equals freedom. And I think, that's it. It's like 90-day into monthly, into weekly, into daily. And that's the time management and energy management. Once a month, take an extra day off, have a 3 days break. Once a quarter, have an extra day off, have 4 days break, because we need to try and replenish our energy to then be our best version of ourselves as well. I tried at one stage to try and, do monophasic sleeping, which is like at the start of opening the gyms, you sleep like 20 minutes every 4 hours. You don't have a nighttime. Because I was trying to like hustle as hard as I could and get as many hours in a day. I was like, I worked a lot, but my energy management was so poor. I felt like I was going to die as well. And not sleeping, I did for like about 11 days. And I literally thought I was going to die. But like over the years, and as I progress, we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, and we severely underestimate what we can do in 10 years if we're just disciplined and focused. I made a lot of bad decisions in my business career, but I built RBT up to 20 gyms and doing $10 million a year, and it's been 10 years. I think that's 10 years. You can build a $10 million company. I had a couple of other companies on the side, so I was doing about $15 million worth of revenue a year in 10 years. So I think if you just stay focused and you just like keep going, like the first year you might get to 500K, the next year like it starts to compound, right? So if you just double every year, it's like you're going to start going really fast, and you'll hit some bumps in the road. I've hit a fair few bumps in my time, but they're all learning lessons that I personally needed for my future in business.
That system seems incredibly productive and effective for you, and it's definitely inspiring for me to refine my own. So thank you for sharing that. Actually, you talked about bumps in the road. Just like a couple of minutes before this conversation, we got a message from somebody who sent me an article about just cautioning us about maybe your integrity or talking to you. And I'm a guy who's like full transparency. Like this is not a gotcha type of thing. I might as well share the article if you don't mind. It's like National Gym Chain Results-Based Training Falls into Administration After Very Large Tax Bill. I have no idea what this is or the context around it. That's what it says. Maybe you can provide... Like, everybody has detractors and people who, criticize them, and also everybody has bumps in the road. But can you give context around this? Maybe you can elaborate instead of headline reading.
Yeah, man, and that's one of my bumps. As you can see, that was published in April 18, 2019, right?
Quite a while.
The bigger you grow, man, the more people are out for you as well. So when I look at this, I grew RBT as a partnership franchise group after the first couple. I wanted to try and groove my guys' financial freedom, and we're growing at a great rate. Some of the guys amazing, still a part of the team. Some of the guys are not. When I rolled back the companies into one company, I took on the tax debts of all my business. I didn't do enough due diligence. So again, learning lesson for me. So I took on over a couple of $1 million of tax debt from the companies, from my partners, which I was like, okay, like I can do this and I can get out from under it. And unfortunately, it's voluntary administration, right? So I pushed the company into administration, not forced administration. So April, it would have been April last year. I pushed, not last year, it was like 2019. What was it last year?
Yeah, last year.
I pushed the company into administration because I couldn't get out from the debt that the company was under from the merger when I took all the locations back under one holding company rather than split into the partnerships. Now, that was a learning lesson for me. We went to essentially the ATO. We have a super debt from those companies as well that we sort of rolled in to pay off. Obviously you have to pay all your super your employees, and I'm paying off that. I could have closed the company then and there, and walked away from all responsibilities, but that's not who I am as a human being. For me, I took on the debts from my partners, and then I moved forward to try and carry it. The ATO didn't want to come to the table. The ATO also wanted to make I think they wanted to make a bit of a
Example.
example of me. They deem me as an influencer. I'm not an influencer, but they deem me as an influencer. And there was a lot of people growing companies, folding them, and they just wanted to, have a bit of a jab at me to make a public example. But also, there's no reason why that should have been in the news, right? Why me? Again, people hate on people that they won't hate on you to a certain amount of extent, and then they'll hate on you to a certain amount of success. And when you go past a certain amount of success, they stop hating on you again. A lot of people don't like me. A lot of people do like me. I think it comes part and parcel of the territory, right? But those people who are close to me and actually know me and have my phone number, they know how much I care. Like you talk about Ben, you talk about so many people. Like I care about them so much. I'd give my life for people. And I go out of my way. Like there's so many people who work for RBT that now own their own gyms, and they wouldn't own their own gyms if they didn't work for RBT. And I want my staff to be as successful as they possibly could be. With the ATO debt, we dropped our ATO debt. We kept all of our other financing liabilities to the side. So we paid to pay them off because I didn't want to fold the ATO debt. But I dropped $2 million worth of ATO debt. Because the government takes enough of everyone's money and allowed us to move forward. So then after we had an administrator look after the company finances for 8 weeks. After the 8 weeks, he was like, here's the company back, and we've been trading ever since. So cool. It is what it is, man. Like I think David Jones has been into voluntary administration multiple times. Many companies have. I think just not many fitness companies that of have, because not many people build $10 million fitness companies.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of I don't know. It's like amazing, but like there comes challenges with that territory. I appreciate you being transparent and just explaining that situation. I didn't know that. Was there issue around like you having to close gyms or having to like lay off staff? Was that a bit of the like quote unquote controversy or stress around it?
No, man. Like for me, like I closed 2 of the Sydney gyms.
Yeah.
I sold my Gold Coast location. Just flying up and down between the 2 states was too hard for us as a company. So we decided to focus back in on Melbourne and focus on Perth, where we had more control. So we dialed it back. I sold my 2 locations in the US as well. So, dropped it back to the 16 locations. COVID's another issue, but it's another day. From after the administration, we pulled it back. We kept our staff. We just dropped only the staff really from those gyms in the other states that weren't the focus at that time. So we probably dropped about 12 staff. But again, man, I'm a kid who's 36 years old, who lived in his gym for the first year, who started this under 10 years ago, who built a $10 million company, employed over 100 staff, and has a $3 million payroll, right? I built this from nothing, and you're going to fall along the way. I didn't go to university, but I started as a personal trainer when I was 18. And I think, doing that, you got to learn the lessons along the way. And I think, I've learned my lessons. I know that it's cool. I'll do more due diligence if I roll things together in another version of this down the track. I could have franchised RBT and not tried to do partnership RBT and probably have 150, 200 of them, right? But I decided to go down a different route. I never regret the decisions I make in life either, man, because everything happens to give you the lesson you need for who you need to be in this earth. And I think it was such an important lesson for me in, again, like due diligence, but it was such an important lesson for me in, blocking out the noise and truly focusing on like myself and focusing on, getting the brand to where I want it to be. Some staff upset, yeah, for sure. But I care all about them and I'll give them all the time of the day. But man, like, when you have 100 staff, you're never going to have everyone that's super happy. Your goal is to do that. It's like when you have like, it's like Pareto's principle rolls true with everything, right? For us, we coach personal training. I got coach fit pros, right? Like, so I've coached over 1,000 fit pros over the last, 8 years. There's 20% of them that have gone to $1 million plus. I've coached more than 100 people to build $1 million business. It's 20% of them, they just didn't do the work, right? And they just didn't. It's like when we look at staff, it's the same sort of thing. Like 20% will, understand how much I love them. There'll be 20% that just like I can't seem to get the buy-in from. And as you start to scale, unfortunately, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And I personally always try and work on that. I always go, how can I lead differently? How can I engage more? How can I use the 5 love languages? How can I get the feedback differently? How like that's a constant thing. I'm very reflective in that nature, but it's human beings, man. The more human beings, the more emotions, and the more emotions, the harder it is.
Yeah, it's tricky. But, that sounds like a very valuable experience for you. How did you manage the stress of all of that? How did you keep your routine, your family? At that time, you probably still had young children. How did you keep it all together? Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you lost a couple marbles then, and sometimes you couldn't.
I think it comes down to identity, man. Like my business isn't my identity. If I lost RBT tomorrow, I lost it tomorrow, and I'll start it again the next day. So I think when people put their happiness on a revenue number, they put a happiness on a certain amount of gyms or a certain amount of clients. Then if they lose it, they lose their happiness, and all of a sudden stress goes through the roof. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, having the ability to get ripped out from underneath you isn't the best, but at the same time, it doesn't define who I am. Again, I built the company in 8 years to that goal, so I could build it again to that goal in 4 years or 3 years. So I think we can't allow financial numbers to represent our success. We have to allow our daily character traits to represent our success.
Absolutely.
I think that's what I do. Is like, am I the most respectful version of me? Am I the most disciplined version of me? Am I the most honest version of me? Am I living with integrity? I think if I can, and you can only answer to yourself, and if I can answer to myself saying, yes, I am playing my game the best I can play my game, that's all we can ever ask from ourselves. And, I think, that allowed me to focus further on that. So it's a blessing in disguise as well. It allowed me to become a stronger human being, focusing on myself rather than the external factors. Dude, like there's going to be people hating on you every day of the week. Like I was put in the paper for defying COVID restrictions like a couple of months ago. Like someone on my Instagram started taking my stories. I went for a walk at 4:58 a.m. I broke Melbourne curfew by 2 minutes. I didn't have a mask on, jumping into my car. So I broke it, because you have to wear masks over here. I was getting into my car. So people were taking my Insta stories. They were putting it to the Herald Sun. And the Herald Sun ran a story about me, and then it got syndicated across 13 different newspapers saying Gym Guru breaks COVID restrictions. It's like, dude, I get hit every day of the week. I get told kill myself. I get hit hard. But it's like, you don't know me and you don't know what I'm about. And only people with my phone number know who I am. And that's if you don't have my phone number, I really actually don't care what you think about me.
Oof, that's a strong but assertive, confident message. You sound very grounded in that reality. And I think you need something like that to keep you sane. Because you, Travis Jones, right? You have this amount of influence and this amount of success, and we see what happens when people don't have those roots in the sand or roots in the ground, and they don't have that mentality, and they have millions and millions of people following them. Look at Joe Rogan. He's very, he has that. He has his version of that. But we've seen through society what happens when fame and influence and money and success is, thrust onto somebody so quickly, and they don't have those roots. that it's chaos, like mental, emotional, psychological chaos, and some people end up like killing themselves, suicide, mental illness.
And 100%, like I could have gone down like man, it was hectic. Like I'm not going to say that. So I'm not going to say it wasn't hectic. The stuff I've been through, man, I've been through worse stuff in my life. Like my second year of RBT, I got threatened by the bikies down the road to pay them $20,000 or they're going to shoot me in 7 days because they protected my business. So I had to come up with 20K in
Wow.
7 days. It's like I had meningococcal and flatlined 4 times when I was 18. Like a lady tried to commit suicide and drove into my car because she tried to kill herself. It's like collapsing a gym chain. Like, dude, that's not stressful. It's like that's just money. Money goes circles the earth. You just grab yours and you do it again. Like stressful is losing a loved one.
Yeah.
Stressful is losing your legs. Stressful is not losing money. Like I think we have an overinflated sense of our happiness defined by material objects and monetary value we place on ourselves, and we don't have our happiness attached to who we are as a person and the impact we're doing giving to those around us. I think if we can start to detach it away from material objects, it's like when we're striving for material objects, it's it's hedonic adaptation.
Yes.
So you feel great and you feel that bad. You feel great, you feel bad. But if we go towards like Abraham Maslow's like self-actualization, that's like what one can be, one must be. You're just moving towards the best version of yourself. And like, are you going to stumble along the way? 100%. But you probably needed those stumbles to move towards the best version of yourself because you were learning something.
That, I think, it's a great place to close this conversation. And I wanted to ask you, it's like, yeah, you fulfilled, let's say, all of Maslow's hierarchy needs. The last one on the tip, self-actualization, is always a constant pursuit. We understand that. But, I mean, do you, and this is rhetorical, but maybe not actually, do you need to keep playing the game that you're playing? For example, 16 gyms, multi-million-dollar company, this regimented, strict schedule, just playing the game of success and continual improvement within business and health and fitness. I wonder, do you ever want to stop playing that game and just be done with all games and just be able to be free of all games? Or is this constant pursuit within that game something you always desire and want?
I think it depends on what you believe you're put on this earth for.
Okay.
So if you're put on this earth to create change, then the game never finishes.
Okay.
So, for me, I'll again, like we've got multiple companies, and I have been in the fitness industry for 18 years. I'll probably be in the fitness industry for another 18 to 36 more. The way I impact the fitness industry, again, will be malleable. Like it will change as my life progresses. But I think a man without the pursuit of change stops truly being like, and that man woman, so I'm not going to be sexist there, but it's like when I look at it, it's like for me, if I'm not trying to create impact, what am I trying to do? And I don't think I'll ever stop the game. Never stop the game of looking back and go, well, what could have I done if I kept moving forward? How many more lives could I have changed? And I think, anyone listening to this who doesn't know me, it's like that guy has ego. It's like, no, like I don't have ego. I believe that I can impact people's lives in a positive way. And it's my duty on this earth to impact as many lives as I possibly can in a positive way. So if I go, that's enough for me, I've got enough money, or I've done enough, that's selfish, not selfless. Your body is your vehicle on this earth to create change on this earth. So you're not doing it for a amount of financial gain. You're doing it to impact the lives. And I don't think you're impacting enough lives until you finish on this earth.
Travis Jones, I think it's a great place to finish this conversation.
Cheers, dude.
Thank you so much for taking the time, man, and sharing all of that. We went off in a lot of directions. If you're down, I'd love to do this in person. Or I have my own personal podcast. Would you be down for that in the future?
100%, man.
Awesome, I appreciate it. Otherwise, do you have any last comments, thoughts, questions, asks of our audience before we get up out of here?
No, man, I think the biggest thing is like, there's a lot of people that will doubt you. There's a lot of people that will tell you can't do something. I think the biggest thing you can do is constantly just believe in yourself. I think that's all we can do as human beings. The bridge between your comfort zone and being uncomfortable, that's hope, right? And hope is understanding that tomorrow is going to be better than today. So if someone's going through a tough time with everything they're going through with the COVID situation or anything like that, that tomorrow is going to be better than today if you take action and you believe in yourself. So believe, have hope, keep moving forward, and that's all you can do on this earth.
Beautiful way to end. Thank you, Travis. Look forward to meeting you one day in person.
Cheers, mate.
All right, see ya. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Travis Jones of RBT Training. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Look, you guys know me at this point. Sometimes the conversations get more philosophical and they get more psychological than sometimes in the dirt, sets and reps, X's and O's, theory of sports science and exercise human science, you know? And I do my best to try and find a balance. Like, you know, I wish not wish, but finishing the conversation now, I would have liked to ask about Cert 3 and 4 and weaknesses he sees in personal trainers. But regardless, I believe there is so much in there that you guys can practically take away. I have a whole diary full of notes here on strategies, systems that you guys and we can use to implement into our lifestyle to improve ourselves as human beings, but also as coaches, like the nutrition stuff, the portion control, macro calorie control, and then dieting phases to maximize accountability and adherence is really valuable. Understanding the flex cows and the portion control method, when to implement which, and simplifying those processes to maximize buy-in is very useful. And then those keystone core habits that we talked about, and finding the root causes of people's why. Things like this, guys. Like, I hope it was valuable. Let us know what your most valuable, like, put in the comments what your most valuable kind of takeaway was. This conversation will be available all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook. And that is it, guys. I'm Alexander Emmanuel Sandars. You guys can find me on all social media if you want to find me. We're Orphic Education. We deliver certificate 3s and 4s in fitness. If you guys are serious and committed to the idea and want to become a personal trainer, and you want more than the average course, you want something that is practical, hands-on, we might be a good fit for you. Let us know. Send us a message. Go to our website. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week for more amazing conversations. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see y'all later. Hey, it's election day, election week. Stay strong, stay stable, stay focused. Done.